The Istanbul night. The air is thick and salty from the nearby Bosphorus Strait. In the Topkapi Palace, the heart of the Ottoman Empire, most of the lights are extinguished. But in a distant corridor, two silent eunuch guards lead a fragile figure. She doesn't scream. All the screams are trapped inside. Perhaps she knew this day would one day come. In the harem, everyone knew. Her only companion in these final moments will be a coarse burlap sack. Sometimes, as legends say, a cat was thrown in with her. So the victim's last moments would be filled with scratching and panic. This punishment had no name. It only had a destination: the cold, dark waters of the Bosphorus. The executioners were often deaf mutes, the dilsees, to ensure that no sound, no final plea for mercy ever left the palace walls. But how? How did a paradise on earth, a place thousands dreamed of, turn into the antechamber of hell? To understand this, you must first see not the prison, but the gilded cage, and understand the paths that led into it. No one was born in the harem except for the Sultan's children. Every one of his women had once been free. The paths into this gilded cage were varied, and almost all were written in blood and tears. The most common source was military raids. Crimean Tatars would raid the lands of modern-day Russia and Ukraine, capturing thousands of young girls. The most beautiful among them were sent to Istanbul, to the slave market. Another path was piracy. Barbary corsairs, masters of the Mediterranean, attacked ships and coastal villages in Italy, Spain, and Greece. A European girl with fair skin and hair was an incredibly valuable commodity. Her price on the market could reach astronomical sums, but there were also those who entered the harem not by force. Sometimes, rulers of vassal states or powerful dignitaries would send their own daughters as gifts to the Sultan to seal a political alliance. These girls entered the palace with honor, but their fate was the same. They became property. And at times, impoverished families would sell their own daughters, hoping that a life of satiety awaited them in the harem rather than starvation in their homeland. Their pasts, their names, their families, their faith, everything was erased. Each girl received a new Turkish name, often floral or poetic, and began her education. She had to convert to Islam, learn the Ottoman language, court etiquette, music, dance, and the art of being pleasing. It was a complete reformatting of her personality. She was no longer Tatiana or Elena. Now she was Gulbahar, the spring rose. And her thorns were her intellect and cunning. The harem was not a collective of equals. It was a brutal pyramid of power. At the very bottom were the kariye, or odalisques, simple maids. There were hundreds of them. They cleaned, cooked, served the higher-ranking women, and lived in cramped communal rooms. Most of them would never even see the Sultan up close. If a girl was noticed by the Sultan, she became a gözde, favored by the eye. It was a moment of great luck and great danger. Now she was a target. After a night with the Sultan, she received the status of Iqbal, the favorite. This came with privileges: separate chambers, better clothes, a couple of servants, but also the intense scrutiny of her rivals. By giving the Sultan a son, an Iqbal could become a Kadın, an official consort. There were between 4 and 8 of these women. They were the elite. Each Kadın managed her own household, received a huge stipend, and commanded a staff of servants. The struggle between them was for the future of their sons, as only one could become the next Sultan. The others most often faced death. But above them all, above the consorts and favorites, stood the Valide Sultan, the mother of the reigning Sultan. She was the undisputed ruler of the harem and one of the most influential figures in the empire. Her word was law. Her spy network, consisting of maids and eunuchs, knew everything about everyone. She controlled vast financial resources and often acted as regent for her young son. Women like Sultan effectively ruled the Ottoman Empire for decades. And then there were them, the wardens of this female prison, the eunuchs. The chief black eunuch, the Kızlar Asa, was the third most important official in the empire after the Sultan and the Grand Vizier. He was the link between the harem and the outside world. He controlled everything, from food supplies to secret messages. He was feared, respected, and hated. It was through his eyes that the Valide Sultan saw every corner of her domain. The laws of the harem were unwritten, but everyone knew them. Disobeying a higher-ranking woman was punished with the falaka, beatings on the soles of the feet, theft, with confinement in a dark room. But there were more subtle crimes. Spreading rumors, fitna, could destroy a reputation and lead to exile.
The use of witchcraft or love potions was one of the most serious accusations. In a world where everything depended on the favor of one man, the belief in magic was incredibly strong. An amulet or a strange powder found in a girl's possession could be a direct ticket to the bottom of the Bosphorus. The mildest, yet psychologically devastating punishment was exile. When a sultan died, all his women, except for the new sultan's mother, were exiled to the Eski Saray, the old palace. It was a life of oblivion. They lived out their days in relative poverty, forgotten shadows of the past. For a woman who had known the luxury of Topkapi, this was a slow death. But the most terrible crime was infidelity. Betraying the sultan, even the mere suspicion of it, was punishable by death. A forbidden relationship with another man was impossible. But history knows of cases of forbidden love between women of the harem, or even with a eunuch, which was absolutely unthinkable and punished by the death of both. And here there was no trial, no investigation, only a rumor that reached the Valide Sultan. And the punishment was always the same, the one that had no name. The harem's executioners did their work at night, the sack, the rope, and the cold waters of the Bosphorus, which hold thousands of such secrets. The girl simply vanished. So, was life in the harem heaven or hell? The answer is simple. It was both. For 99% of the women, it was a gilded prison where they were beautiful birds with no right to fly. Their lives were a succession of fear, boredom, and waiting. But for the 1%, for the few who possessed an iron will, cunning, and luck, the harem became a ladder to unimaginable power. Hurrem Sultan, a captured Slavic girl, became the legal wife of Suleiman the Magnificent and a de facto co-ruler. Sultan, the Greek Anastasia, served twice as regent for her son and grandson and held the title of Great Valide. She went from a slave to arguably the most powerful woman in Ottoman history. But even she, the all-powerful Kosum, ended her life strangled by order of her daughter-in-law, the new Valide Sultan. In this gilded cage, there were no winners. There were only those who survived a little longer than the others. The harem offered the illusion of safety, but its bars were forged from fear. And every one of its inhabitants knew one wrong step, one careless word, and the silent guards would come for you in the dark Istanbul night. And the waters of the Bosphorus would wash away all traces of your existence.
I want to hear your ideas for my next video, so drop a comment below. Your support means a lot, so please smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already.